There's a great narrative tension that runs throughout the Old Testament. On the one hand, we find in God a faithful covenant keeper. On the other hand, we see an unfaithful human partner. And no passage brings this contrast into sharper focus than the prayer recorded in Nehemiah chapter 9. The prayer opens by praising God for His faithfulness, first as the creator of heaven and earth, and then as the covenant partner of Abraham and his offspring. The prayer repeatedly references God's faithfulness to His people. Yet at every turn throughout Israel's history, there was forgetfulness, rebellion, stubbornness, even blasphemy. And this contrast is stark. So it makes sense that the prayer is one of confession. The priests who offer it are acknowledging the root cause of their misery. They're part of a struggling community of returned exiles who are still falling short of the covenant obligations they have with God. And consequently, they are being oppressed by their Gentile overlords. This prayer is a good model for us when we need to confess sin. Sin is not God's fault, it's ours, and we need to own it if we're ever going to overcome it. But before we close, I want to consider something a little deeper. As I read this honest but painful prayer of confession, I can't help but ask, how will the human side of this covenant ever be upheld? Will God's holiness give way to His compassion so that He just overlooks sin? Or will His holiness overwhelm His compassion so that His justice crushes us for our guilt? There seems to be no way out of this riddle. Either way, God will have to be less loving or less holy than He reveals Himself to be. The prayer offers no resolution to the tension because the final solution wouldn't come for another 400 years when Jesus came to be the faithful human covenant partner, the true seed of Abraham who would do all that God required. You see, it was only through the death of Jesus on the cross that the demands of both love and law could be reconciled. At the cross, we see divine justice and divine grace come together to resolve the tension. Though He was a faithful covenant partner, Jesus, out of love for us, suffered the curse of the covenant breakers. He did this so God could be found holy and at the same time be found merciful. He is just because He punished sin at the cross, and merciful because those who are in Christ are no longer condemned as covenant breakers. So when we confess our wrongs, we can go a step beyond the priests of Nehemiah's day and thank God for Jesus, who sets us free from the crushing guilt of sin.